Welcome to the Investor Agent Podcast, where we transform the lack and scarcity mindset to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time. We're here with Dave Van Horn. Thanks for coming out, Dave. Appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
I wanted to share a little bit about what this is for, the intention of this podcast. So it's really to transform the human mindset from a lack and scarcity, there's a lot of that out there, to the abundance mentality, specifically for realtors that are sick of the commission roller coaster and want to get on the investor train.
Okay.
So that's really the intention of this. I'm going to follow my notes a little bit here just to kind of stay on track, but I want to, have this be conversational. So really we could take this any direction you want. First and foremost, I want to thank you because I'm not just saying it. I really, truly am honored that you're on this. You've been a mentor and a friend and had, out of anyone in all the investor groups, have had the biggest impact on my mindset shift.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's from just, I call you a mentor and friend and you're like, well, we just had lunch together a few times, but I take what you say very seriously because I see where you're at. So I'm honored to have you on. For the listeners, I'll tell you a little bit about Dave. He's CEO and president of PPR Note Company.
Yep.
And you guys have a fund which manages over $150 million worth of real estate notes, correct?
Yes. It's actually a little bigger than that, but yeah.
All right. Well, you can share numbers. We're allowed to talk about money on this show.
We're just about 200 million, yeah. So.
Okay. Dave's an author of How to Buy Notes.
Yeah, real estate note investing.
Note investing through Bigger Pockets, correct?
Yes.
And your company was listed on the Inc. 5000 list?
Yes, it was, yeah, recently.
And you also have a Strategic Investor Alliance accredited investor group, which is really to help create wealth, help other investors invest wisely in what's available to them. Dave is a big contributor to Project Home, right?
Yeah.
He's donated it.
When there's no COVID.
Raised some money. I mean, I contributed a little bit to that. I saw the how important that was to you. So that's just a little bit about Dave, but the reason that I have him on the show today is because I think the intention of the show is very much in alignment with who you are in terms of just sharing knowledge, sharing an abundance of wealth, helping other people, and that's really what this is all about. So hopefully the listeners get something very valuable from this, and I just see you as being massively successful in both the investor world and the business world. And when I look at the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrants, the investor and the business owner, that's I see you.
Yeah, I'm trying to be in all four quadrants, right? So it's
well, I think you've gotten out of the first two, right? I hope to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit you're in the S, but you're right. The B's better and the I's better for sure.
Cool. So I'm going to stop talking and ask some more questions, but I wanted to set the stage.
Sure, appreciate that.
Why did you get in real estate? How did you get started? Just give us the little backstory.
For me, I couldn't get a job. So I got out of college and was a business major and was working in construction and couldn't get a job. So I was, at a construction site every day. And I was about 26 and I was living at my mom's. I couldn't even afford an apartment. I was married, had a child at the time. And, my mom actually suggested, she's like, why don't you try real estate? And I went and got my license and came at it from the realtor angle. And, eventually became a top agent in the company that I was at. There were 7 offices. One year I was the number 1 agent. And the thing that was ironic was I was part-time. So it was like, how are you the number 1 agent? You're part-time.
But you stuck with it, obviously. So
yeah. There's a lot of tax advantages.
Can you say why real estate,
Why?
And like what?
Well,
because your mom said it, but you obviously got into it. You liked it. You were having success with it, and you saw a big opportunity, or?
Well, it was a common knowledge that, a lot of wealth was built through real estate. So there were sayings like, more millionaires were made from real estate than anything else, So that was appealing at first.
Yeah, we've all heard that. We don't know if it's real or not.
We don't know if it's true or not, but there's a couple of people out there that they didn't say that it's not all the agents that are super wealthy. It's just people made a lot of wealth through real estate, right? It's like, I kind of learned that working for builders the builder, I thought I was doing good with my, little business, when in reality, the builder had 25 or 30 in me building, construction sites.
Right.
He was really maximizing
Yeah.
the leverage of all the different trades, as opposed to me trying to maximize my one little trade, right?
All right. So, I'm going to share a little statistics, right? And I don't know, again, it's one of those things you hear, you don't know if it's true, but 9 out of 10 realtors fail. Like, they get their license, they never even do a transaction. And beyond that, just in general, what do you think it is that separated you from the people around you that you saw them, they had the same opportunities, but they didn't take the action?
Mine was easy. I hated my job. So it was like a way out, right? So I was lucky I had 2 mentors in the very beginning as an agent, and they were, I figured out early on that, 20% of the agents did about 80% of the business. So I started hanging out with 2 of the better agents. And luckily, the top agent in the firm at the time was training me. So that helped a lot. And then he had owned a lot of properties. He eventually went bankrupt and lost them all. So that was a very valuable lesson for me. But but I saw what it took to be the top agent. Pretty, it wasn't. I'm not saying it was easy. In the very beginning, my first year was tough. I mean, I almost dropped out.
So did you see oh, they're making this much, I want to do that, or?
No, it wasn't that sophisticated. No? It was more like I just want to live off my day job and bank my checks, and then and grab a property. And then after I got the first property, then it was like I want to try to buy a property a year for the next 20 years, and then pay them all off, and then live happily ever after.
And that was the big, that was the BHAG at the time, right?
Yeah, it was a small BHAG, but it was, yeah.
It's funny how that grows, right?
Yeah.
At what point did your mindset shift from scarcity and lack to abundance? And talk about that. And I know it's not necessarily like a flip of a switch, but.
No, it was. It was pretty much a flip of a switch. I was going for my broker's exam, and the guy teaching us was asking us, does anybody own houses with credit cards at the time? Not that I would do that today. And, everybody said no. We all had credit cards, but we didn't buy houses with them. And that was that challenge to use leverage was what changed the game for me, because I had sources of properties because I had access to the MLS. I was handy because I had a construction business. And then, I just didn't have capital. So he solved the capital piece. And it's like, it's just looking for that who or that situation that's, what's that old saying? You don't lack resources, you lack resourcefulness, right? It was right there in front of you the whole time, but you just didn't know it,
Yeah.
Because I always thought I had to have my money. I didn't realize I just had to have money.
For people listening, you might get this intellectually, but you have to almost experience this as a shift in your thought process. Like, oh my God, I can do this. I just have to figure out a way to do it.
I mean, I couldn't sleep the night.
Yeah.
The first day of that class when the guy pointed that out, that he was buying properties with credit cards, the teacher. And I couldn't sleep. I went home and told my wife, I was like, we're going to buy houses with credit cards. And she's like, that's not going to affect me going to the mall, is it? That kind of thing. But no. And then at one point I had like $400,000 in credit cards, which years ago was a lot of money.
You heard that and you envisioned it. That's why you couldn't sleep. Right, where everyone else probably went home and slept great because they didn't envision it for themselves. That's pretty interesting. So who were some of your mentors, throughout your career path? And it could be investing or business. Anyone that you think really had an impact on you, or could it be education or?
There were so many. I mean, there were probably mentors in every aspect of everything you do throughout your life, right? Even right now, I'm investigating. Having someone help me who has owned 400 companies.
Wow.
Right? So I'm like...
Do you want to do that?
Not that I want to own 400 companies.
No, I know. I got you.
But he
learn
pretty
from
much...
that experience.
Yeah, do you learn from that? And the funny part is he's much younger than me. But there's, just a world of knowledge there.
You've really traveled down this path of investing and business. Investing and business, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you say is the leader in that for you? And what's most interesting to you?
I think they're different because my business is an investment. And I'm, right now, for example, I'm looking at taking the company, to potentially be a private REIT, maybe become a public REIT. I mean, that's my vision. So it's it is an investment.
Yeah.
It's just a bigger one.
You've matched the two. You've married the two.
Yeah, and you're committing. You're committed to it. You're committing more time and energy and resources than it. So it's not just a passive investment, which a lot of times that's what people think about as, well, how passive is this? But then I do a bunch of passive stuff too, or in some other verticals.
Yeah. What was your number one challenge in either your investing or business?
Challenge. Well, in the beginning was the lack of capital, not using leverage, not knowing what I was good at. But then as time went on, you kind of sift through some of that and you figure that out. So
can we dive into not knowing what you were good at and how you found that? This is selfish for me, but I think for any listener as well.
Well, I was much older than I care to admit before that happened. The first one was when I had gotten hurt and had to get out of my first business, and that changed my world dramatically. And, it just makes you realize, what's happening today doesn't mean you're guaranteed that in the future, kind of thing. I had been a financial planner and sold insurance and did different things over the years, right? So I had a lot of different skill sets. But I think really what became valuable to me over time was all the relationships I had, the network I had, and then the ability to, the funny part was I had no capital in the beginning, but then, I'm pretty good at raising capital today. So that's really my number one thing. And then it attracts a lot of other things.
Yeah. So it was a path to figure that out. A lot of different things happened, but did everything kind of point you to that direction?
Well, in the beginning, no, I would wear all the hats and try to do everything. And now I'm like the opposite of that. Well, I try to be.
Almost like process of elimination. Like you have to almost figure out who you are not to figure out who you are.
Well, a lot of times we always go, we need to get something done or another project this quarter or whatever that is. If I only had this, we're all lacking something. Whereas instead of being grateful for what you got and figuring out who's the who that would change the game right now. So when we think of what needs to get done, we always think of us doing it. And then that's the roadblock. We're like, oh, well, I'm too busy to do it, or I'm not the greatest person at this, so I got to stop and learn this. Where there's people that are already experts at it that you could just tap in. So it's more of this innovative, collaborative type of mindset. It's back to the abundance mindset as well.
It goes back to the I can't afford it. How can I afford it?
It's like anything, you can have a bigger mission. That's the way I look at it. I kind of look at it like this. A lot of people are, they think about the individual first, then they try to build a team, and then they may have a mission or not have a mission. And then when you really look at something like, I don't know, the Marine Corps, well, it's mission first, then it's about the team, and the leader eats last, right? So and they can accomplish a bigger mission than they could as individuals, right? Well, it's the same way in business, right? You can only go so far as a solopreneur as opposed to, hey, how can I really catapult this into a publicly traded company or something? I'm going to need help to do that, to get that over the goal line. I'm not going to do that alone. Nobody does that alone, I don't think.
So what is the mission of PPR? And what is the mission, what is Dave's mission?
Well, it's funny that you're saying that. I'm working on defining it more because it's changing, but it's really just about having a more impactful purpose in what you do. So if you have a purpose bigger than you, you'll tend to, accomplish things better, or you won't have as many regrets as you get older, that kind of thing. I'll see sometimes you'll see senior citizens who are just full of regret, or they haven't, life's passed them by, or they don't want to live any longer, that kind of thing. Whereas if they had a bigger purpose, I just recently saw somebody that's 101 years old. The guy's still practicing law.
That's great.
He's trying to stop genocide in the world. He's
got something to live for.
That guy's on fire,
yeah.
Right? So it's just I see the differences.
So do you mind if we dig in a little bit on that, on the purpose side?
Sure.
So specifically, where do you feel that you have been called to make the biggest impact?
For me, in the beginning, a lot of it was around housing because I'm in the real estate business, or I'm an investor. But lately, it's been more about the economic gap between rich and poor, and then, what can you do to improve some of that? Because I think a lot of things come from that, like whether it's, drug addiction or homelessness. A lot of it is related because there's not jobs in that community or something. So it's like, how do I take my core competencies as a business or as an individual and then do something more impactful and purposeful with that? I mean, that's just kind of the line of thinking
You've been doing that for
so.
a long time, even with you're writing your book, showing
Yeah.
people how to create passive income and, escape the day job, start right. I mean, really.
Yeah. I'm just like trying to figure out how do you do that in a bigger way than what I've been doing.
Well, what's bigger than writing a book where, it's could go on infinitely well beyond your time and my time. Right.
Yeah.
And doing it. I mean, I think we're doing it right now on a certain level. So, what do you see anything specific for yourself or your business that, that is a bigger, greater, grander version of what's already taking place?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I envision our company being, significantly bigger than it is today as far as growth. And then what kind of impact can we have on the community as well and all the other stakeholders? And then how can I get that impact into the community based on, our core values and our core competencies? That's more exciting to me than just, make money or anything like that. It's more about how we're spending our time. And, you can always go make more money, right?
Yeah.
So
was there any defining moments for you that just had you like greatly expand your belief system in terms of like how big you can think? Because I know for me, it's only been around like other people. Like,
no, actually I did. I was in the beginning, probably the first 15 years, I was just a regular, I don't want to say just a regular realtor. That's probably doesn't sound very well.
Oh, I'm coming up on 15 years. So you're saying I have hope.
So I was, just this regular realtor, and I was buying properties, and I was like operating with tunnel vision in a cave by myself, so to speak. I kind of had a know-it-all mentality and all that. And then, I hit a roadblock with, I couldn't get any financing on any additional properties, for example. So I finally joined a group, and I knew about the group, and I put it off, and I didn't do it. And then eventually I just started joining a networking group with other real estate investors, and the whole switch went right off. And I solved my capital issues almost instantaneously, and then the whole world opened up, right? So then I realized I don't know everything.
So what was that? You just realized, oh my God, there's all these ways to raise capital.
Well, there were all these ideas too.
Yeah.
So it was just like all these creative financing things that I hadn't thought about. The typical realtor like me probably just thinks, well, you just go to the mortgage broker.
Yeah. So you realize that there is no box.
There's an infinite sources
there's no
of capital.
box.
There's just,
the
world's your oyster kind of thing. And other people have done this ahead of us. We just have to follow in their footsteps, right? Success leaves clues kind of thing, yeah.
Is there anyone that deserves credit? And I know I asked about, do you have a mentor, but is there anyone else specifically you want to acknowledge that deserves credit?
Well, I read a lot, so a lot of it comes from that. I mean, Jim Rohn's been a big philosophical thing for me where there was a time where I really didn't have much philosophy.
What's one takeaway from reading Jim Rohn?
Oh, gosh.
One of his sayings that you like?
There's so many. Oh, my gosh. You're asking
work harder on yourself than your job
than you do on your job. That's a great one. I mean, that's there's so many like that though. I mean, he has some good ones. It's really like he has philosophy about all different things in life, right? And it's just a different perspective that you might not have thought about. And but that's a great one. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. One of the things I had done was after college, I stopped learning and stopped reading for a while. And I was just too busy. It's almost like we're brought up that way where, we're done high school now. We're done with school.
Yep.
Which is just
we don't need to learn. We don't need to learn anymore.
We don't need to learn anymore. And then there were so many years where I wasted. I just went to work every day and didn't really educate myself or do anything. Not enough. Other than I became a realtor. But then later on, so I've always been going to night school and things like that. Even now, I still take.
Well, you came to one of our investor meetings and you were furiously taking notes. I look around the room. There's 25 people in the room. I'm not trying to put you on a pedestal, but there's no one that's even close to your financial level in that room, and you're the only one taking notes.
That's just how I learn. When I write stuff down,
but it's just fascinating to me.
All.
It's like, yeah, but that's the humility there. Constantly learning and working on yourself, and I see it. I see it big time with you. I just want to conclude. So appreciate you being on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to restate the intention of this podcast, which is really to transcend the lack and scarcity mindset to wealth and abundance. If you look around in the world, this is an abundant world. And if you are feeling that lack and scarcity mindset, you know, I think just surround yourself with people who are in abundant space, and you might be surprised what they're willing to share with you. Is there anything you want to share about how people can reach out to you to get in contact with PPR? Put all your info in the comments.
Yeah, sure. Just go to pprnoteco.com. You can reach out to us. We answer investor questions as well on Bigger Pockets all the time. And we do have a distressed mortgages group on LinkedIn as well. And we tend to help people out, answer their questions.
And if anyone's just looking at the note space, I would think Dave's book is the book to read.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great intro book for people that are thinking about it. What is it? That kind of thing. But I always say we're all in the note business. We just don't know it, right?
That's right. Which side are you on?
Which side are you on?
That's what you always said. Are you paying interest? Or are you collecting interest? So, all right, Dave. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.